Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a look at the top 10 cards from Scarlet and Violet. I have cut it down to a top 10 this time, but I'm also cheating out of the wazoo, so I don't know. If nothing else, this is going to be a list of the best cards in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and that alone makes it an awful lot of fun. Quick note before we get going, I'm not putting Nest Ball on this list because it's a reprint that we didn't really have that long ago. But let's be 100% clear, Nest Ball is absolutely huge. Nest Ball is one of the best cards in the format. It searches the basic Pokemon and benches it. Essentially, it is just a replacement for Quick Ball. Quick Ball is rotating out, so we're bringing Nest Ball in instead. And it's not a straight one-to-one let's be clear, because Quick Ball goes to your hand and you have to discard a card to play it. Nest Ball goes straight to the bench, but you can just play it normally. But make no mistake about it, I'm not putting it on the list, but it's huge. Couple of other honourable mentions that unfortunately did not quite make the list here. Armor Rouge is a very good card, which lets you move your energy from your fire energy, from your bench Pokemon to your active, as often as you like during your turn. It's clearly phenomenal, right? It's clearly a ridiculous card, and it's clearly going to see a whole bunch of play. Any fire energy from your bench to your active Pokemon, make no mistake about it, this is a very good card that's going to see a rather ridiculously large amount of play. Good, good. One combo I am personally very excited about, we'll see how good it ends up being, is a combination of Tatsugiri and Dondozo. Because you see, you've got Tatsugiri, which is, I mean, it's honestly fine, right? It's not really the point here. Does let you search your deck for 2 basic water energy and attach them to one of your Pokemon, which is actually, like, sneaky really good, so don't sleep on that. But the main reason we like it is for Dondozo. Oh, it has to be a basic Pokemon Tatsugiri attaches to, I should say. That's what Tane means there in the middle. And then you got your Dondozo, which lets you do 50 damage for each Tatsugiri in your discard pile. And it's a basic Pokemon for 2 colorless energy. This is one I'm very excited about. The other one that I am personally very excited about is Houndstone. This is right up my alley, this one. 2 psychic energy, and it does 80 damage base, plus 10 more for each psychic Pokemon in your discard pile. There is a Graveyard, incidentally, which just does 10 for each psychic Pokemon in your discard pile, which is obviously less damage, but it's also kind of good for getting you rolling nice and early, and the artwork rare is of that one, which I very much appreciate. So, yeah, it's alright, ladies and gentlemen. It ain't too bad. We like this. We like this very much indeed. But moving on then to the actual top 10 list, and in at number 10, we've got SKWOVET. And this might be one of those cards that I get a little bit of stick for putting so high, and I don't particularly care. I really, really like SKWOVET here. What we've got is an ability that lets you shuffle your hand and put it on the bottom of your deck. Clearly, that's a little bit awkward. However, you then get to draw 1 card. Now, let's be perfectly clear. This is a basic Pokemon, which is great, but you're only getting 1 card, so this is a very emergency thing, unless you got something like Bibarel. In which case, you shuffle your deck, put it on the bottom, you grab yourself a card, and then you either play it or don't play it, but then you refill your hand to 5, and that's what I love so much about this. The fact that if you've got something else that can refill your hand, this is actually, for anything that's drawn until you've got X number of cards in hand, this is phenomenal, because it gets rid of your hand, draws you a card that you can hopefully play, and then you get to refill your hand. I legitimately adore this card. In at number 9, we've got BANETTE, and I like BANETTE. It's not setting the world on fire over in the Japanese metagame right now, but I think there's so much potential we have to put it on this list. Because you see, what we've got from BANETTE is 2 very, very good things. We have got ourselves an attack for a single energy that only does 30 damage, but it then stops your opponent playing item cards. Please do remember, item cards no longer include tools, so that is a big change. But it's item lock. We've then got an attack for 2 energy that lets you look at your opponent's hand, and it does 60 damage for each trainer card you find there. So item lock, item lock, item lock, item lock, and then when you need to do a big attack, Poltergeist should do lots of damage because your opponent hasn't been able to play their items, so they'll have more trainer cards in hand, because they'll have more items in hand. That's pretty gosh darn good. In at number 8, we've got ourselves Hawlucha, and Hawlucha is one of the pre-release promos, and not the only pre-release promo I'm actually popping on this list. And what we've got here is a redonkulous ability, whereby when you play it from your hand to your bench, you get to choose 2 Pokemon on your opponent's bench, and drop 1 damage counter onto each of them. It's great. It is the spiritual successor to Zigzagoon, Galarian Zigzagoon. And it's not as good as Galarian Zigzagoon, let's be clear, because you can't drop to the active. You can drop 2 damage counters, but you can't drop to the active. And it's worth noting that Scoop Up Net, which is great for reusing abilities like this, has also gone and rotated. So yes, it is a weaker version, but you're still dropping extra damage counters with a basic Pokemon. It's still absolutely great. In at number 7, we've got the other pre-release promo that makes this list. It's REVAVROOM. Still love the name of that card. And this is, again, completely for the ability. Lets you discard an energy card from your hand and then draw till you've got 6 cards in your hand. So, again, we've got kind of new Bibarel here. And you do have to discard an energy from your hand. Not ideal. But you then get to draw until you've got 6 cards in your hand rather than 5. Drawing that extra card is a very, 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 very big deal. Do not sleep on how big a deal this is. In at number 6, we've got Gardevoir. And yeah, don't forget, we've got the stunning artwork rare of that one. And this Gardevoir, I know some people like this more, some people like it less. I'm putting it around about the middle of this list. It is a factor in the Japanese metagame right now, but it is not exactly the best deck or anything like that. But what we've got here is a rather redonkulous ability that lets you, as often as you like during your turn, attach a basic Psychic from your discard pile to one of your Psychic Pokemon, and then if you do, you got to take 2 damage counters onto that Pokemon. Which is not ideal, admittedly, and you can't knock out a Pokemon doing it, but you know what? This is pretty great, ladies and gentlemen. This is pretty great. It's a stage 2. That's basically why it doesn't get any higher up on the list. The fact that it's a stage 2 is a problem. That is one thing that is hurting it. Although, do remember, we have the absolutely ridiculous Curlier right now that came around in Silver Tempest, which lets you discard a card from your hand to draw 2, which really, really helps. Although, again, it's still a stage 2. It's still a little bit slower. That is still a bit of a problem. The attack here is fine. You get to do 190 and remove all special conditions for free energy. It's all right. But here, we're really just looking at the absolutely redonkulous ability, which is going to basically make any Psychic deck a million times better going forward. In at number 5, I'm cheating a little bit. I'm going for the new supporters. And I'm including Miriam, I'm including Penny, and I'm including Arven. And I think all of these are pretty good cards with a whole bunch of potential. Now, Miriam, obviously, we know we love it because of the whole, it's worth £1 billion. It's not going to be worth that much in English. But what we've got here from Miriam is a card that lets you choose up to 5 Pokemon from your discard pile, shuffle them into your deck, and draw 3 cards. And basically here, this is just phenomenal because you're recovering, but you're also drawing. Most recovery cards you have to choose. Here you don't have to choose. This is a very, very good thing indeed. Now, Arven is a very interesting one because it lets you go and search for an item card and a tool, put them straight into your hand. But this, for me, gets elevated quite significantly because of the existence of Forest Seal Stone. I'm going to be honest with you. We've got other tools here which give you V-Star powers. But for me, Forest Seal Stone is a big one, because that gives you a V-Star power onto any Pokemon V, lets you search for any card you like. So essentially here, you can search for an item card and a tool, but that tool can be Forest Seal Stone that lets you search for any card, and that for me just makes Arven way, way better. And then we got ourselves Penny. And Penny lets you return a basic Pokemon in play and all cards attached to it into your hand. That can either be to recover it to reuse an ability, for instance, or it can be used to heal a Pokemon which is about to get KO'd so that it doesn't get KO'd. Either way, this is a rather phenomenal card which is going to see a fair bit of play. I didn't really know how to split between them, so I didn't. I left them in at number 5. And in at number 4, I'm cheating again. We've got the 2 good new stadiums, Beach Court and Mesagosa. These are both very good cards, and I expect both of these to see a lot of play. They are both like ridiculous cards. Beach Court is literally just Sky Arrow Bridge. It reduces the retreat cost of basic Pokemon by 1. It saw a huge amount of play when it was called Sky Arrow Bridge. The name has changed now. It's now Beach Court. But it hasn't changed in terms of how good it is. It is still a ridiculous card. Basic Pokemon are still really the center of the game right now. Make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen. This is a phenomenal card which is going to see a phenomenal amount of play. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be huge. Mesagosa is also a very good stadium, however. That is another one which I expect to see a whole bunch of play. And it's one that actually does a solid and helps out some evolution decks. And it's always nice to see a lovely card helping out some of those lovely evolution decks. Because, you know, evolution decks, they need a bit of love, ladies and gentlemen. They need a bit of love. What we've got here is a stadium that says once during each player's turn, they may flip a coin. And if heads, they search for a Pokemon and put it into their hand. Love it, ladies and gentlemen. Love it. Sure, it's flipping and it's not perfect and all of that, but if you want to get your Pokemon out nice and easily, this one will do quite nicely. And then we end up in at number 3 with KLEFKI. KLEFKI's great. KLEFKI is absolutely, flat out, no question, ridiculous great. Because you see, what it does is when it's in the active, turns off abilities. That's it. That's what it does, ladies and gentlemen. It turns off abilities. The thing is, there are quite a lot of decks out there that kind of really rely on abilities. And then when this hits the active, they have nothing. Now, it is only basic Pokemon. Let's be 100% clear here. It is only basic Pokemon's abilities it shuts off. But in the early game, you are shutting off abilities of basic Pokemon. And they're not going to have evolved yet. So, this shuts down a lot of decks early doors. Expect to see a lot of play. Expect to see it everywhere. Now, in at number 2, I'm combining for the last time. We've got Competitive Band and we've got Vitality Band. Both very good cards. Both should see a fair bit of play. Not, I think it's fair to say, entirely even. Because Vitality Band just does an extra 10 damage. No matter what it's attached to, no matter what you're attacking into, no matter what's going on in the game, you are doing an extra 10 damage. It's cool. It's not amazing, it's not stunning, it's not game-breaking, but that extra 10 damage can absolutely make a big difference. Whereas when we have a look at Competitive Band, this is an extra 30 damage, which, again, great. However, it only activates if you are behind on prizes. If you're even on prizes or you are ahead on prizes, then this isn't actually going to do very much. It's a significantly worse card. But there's going to be plenty of times you are behind on prizes, and an extra 30 damage is very, very enticing indeed. So yeah, make no mistake about it, this is another one I expect to see a huge amount of play. This one should be kind of everywhere, honestly. And yeah, this one's good, ladies and gentlemen. This one's good. I do expect these to see a huge amount of play all over the board. And I do think you need to combine them in at number 2. Which means that at number 1, we've got Miraidon EX. And I'll be honest with you, I never really considered putting anything else up here. But you could. This isn't one of those sets where Miraidon is a mile ahead of every other card in the game, or in the set. This is just a very, very, very good card. But there's plenty of others, especially on the high part of this list, where if you went and put them ahead, I wouldn't be terribly upset. But what we've got here is the ability. The ability is ridiculous. Because you see, what the ability does is it lets you search for 2 basic lightning Pokemon and pop them on the bench. So you go and get yourself 1 Miraidon, and now all of a sudden it turns into a full bench of lightning Pokemon. And even the attack is pretty good, 3 energy 220, because let's not forget that KLEFKI is a thing, and that will mean that you do an extra 30 damage for your basic Pokemon's attacks, basic lightning, like this one. So now all of a sudden, with KLEFKI, it's a really good attacker as well. I should mention we do have Electro Generator here as well, which I struggled with this one on the list, because I didn't really just want to put it on the list, because it only really works with lightning decks, so I figured popping it up here with Miraidon was probably the right thing to do. It lets you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, find 2 basic lightning energy from among them, and attach them to your bench lightning Pokemon. It's really good, ladies and gentlemen. It's really good. It is limited to 2, so if there's 5 basic energy on the top 5, you can only get 2. But make no mistake about it, this is phenomenal energy acceleration, and that's another reason why I'm putting Miraidon in at number 1, because oh my goodness, it's amazing. So there we go. This is good. These are good cards. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me which of these you like, tell me which you're excited by, tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk Pokemon card games, Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and you don't have to chat about Pokemon, you can chat about anything you like. And you can get shout-outs on the channel, like the lovely James Siapinski, who has been one of our supporters for a while now and is a very lovely person. So thank you very much for all the support, and for being a very lovely person. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.